Hey guys, we're going to do a fun little schema today called it's a sequence called the third down, second up sequence, or what we'll talk about a little bit more descriptive word for it. But let's go to the whiteboard and let's just explore some places and just get a feel for the voice leading principles behind the schema. And then we'll chain these principles together, kind of like layers, different levels of a fountain, really fancy or Italian ornate fountain, and take a look at how this plays out. So let's go to the whiteboard here. So there are two places where we're used to a point of stability resolving, instability resolving up to a point of stability. Fa, sol, ti, do. We're going to take those as our points of departure today to learn a little voice leading principle on these parts. Let's grab our pen here. I'm going to take a look at the fa, stepping up to sol. And we're going to take a look at the ti, stepping up to do. Now, of course, our first version that we ran into these was we've always had stability being 5/3 chords. So, of course, my sol 5/3 and my do 5/3. And our first version, we just had, passing 6/3 chords and everything else. And back in the day, we learned that if the bass moves up by step, from a 6/3 to a 5/3, then I have the sixth up above. So fa up a 6, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re. What we learned is that likes to skip down by third, so that the sixth here becomes the fifth, or becomes the third of the chord here. Or ti up a 6, of course, would be sol, sol, mi. And we just had this lovely little voice leading outline where the sixth here skipped down to become the third. And of course, that was a great thing to give to our soprano lines, so that we really hear the beauty of that come out. Of course, we also learned, this is kind of our discant cadence gesture, right? And so if this is here, I would add a nice little la going down to sol, with the third, going down to the octave. The third here, I would have a re, do line here. That was our three voice, leading. And there are variations we can do on this. So one of the variations is I could fill in that skip of a third, re, ti. It would be very easy to just fill that in with re, do, ti. Let's get our arrow out of the way so I can just kind of put this line in here. And we'll fill this in and give it a little linear motion. Re, do, ti, and sol, fa, resolving to mi. And that's a lovely sound there. And what I've done is I've taken this, what was a 6/3, and I changed my 6 to a 5th. Just like that. Just like that, 6/5/3. Where the 6/3 changes into the 5/3, resolving to the 5/3. And of course, this is an unstable 5/3, especially this one, because that ti to fa, that's a false fifth. That's a tritone, and it's not a real fifth there. And this do is not a stable do. You can see it's acting as this passing tone here. And then when we went to a four voice texture, then, just to leave a little bit of room here for a fourth voice here, I'll put in our voices that we had here. I had my la, sol, my third becoming my octave. I had my re, the third becoming the octave do. Lovely gesture there. And then if I wanted to fill things in, I would want like a re here. I could just go re, re. Here I could go, just sol, sol, put in that boring version of the artisans there. And then what we could do is take out this and just have the fifth on top, because my 6 is on the bottom. And then this turned our 6/3, or our linear 6/5/3, into a vertical 6/5/3 chord. 6/5/3 chord, just like that. And it's this beautiful motion up as that 6/3 or the 6/5/3 steps up to the 5/3, steps up to the 5/3. Now, what we can do is we can chain this together. It's like an Italian fountain. They have the different levels of the fountain. And each level gets a little bit larger. Then we'll have our base pool here. And of course the water, shoots out of here, down to here, it shoots out of here, down to here, shoots out of here, down to the base. And there's our lovely little fountain. I'm a music major, not an art major. Go with it. But you see the way it splashes up and then goes down and then splashes up and then goes down and then splashes up and goes down? We can kind of do that in music too. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to erase the solfege and we're going to go to some actual notes. And we're going to do some splashings, just like we're doing here. And we're going to use our principles that we had there. So I'm going to do this, I'm just going to let's start on C. And I'm going to go down and then step up, kind of the splashing up. So down a third. This is why it's called the down a third, up a step sequence. Down a third, up a step, down a third, up a step, down a third, up a step. And I could do that as far as I want. 3 splashes is probably fine. I have 3 levels of the fountain up there. And you can kind of see how it goes down to the next level and splashes up, and goes down to the next level, splashing up, down to the next level, splashing up. It kind of looks like a fountain here. That's why the Italians used called a variant of the schema. We'll learn about the chromatic variation of the schema, where it's all half steps splashing up. And that's what they called the Italian word for fountain, which is to say a fonte. Fonte equals fountain. And it has this lovely third down, step up, third down, step up. That's the splashing as it keeps coming down. Now, of course, we know that if, something that resolves up by step, it would sound absolutely fantastic, to do that as a 6-5-3 resolving up by step to a 5-3. Go down to another 6-5-3, which resolves up by step to the 5-3. Go down, splash to the 6-5-3, which resolve up by step to a 5-3. Lovely, lovely motion here. Now, there are different variations of this we can do. Let's do a basic 3-voice version first. And for the 3-voice version, I'm going to take these 6-5-3s, and for now we're just going to make them 6-3 chords. Chords of motion resolving to chords of stability. There we go. And so I know that it's a lovely thing to have in the melodies to have that 6th splash down to the 3rd. So 6 above A, of course, is F. I'm just going to splash that down to the 3rd D. All right, the 6th above G is E. I'm just going to splash that down to the 3rd, which is C. 6 above F is D. I'm going to splash it down a 3rd to the B. And let's go ahead and start, since I had a 3rd here, let's start this on the 3rd here. Why not? Do you see how there's this parallel between the voices? The bass goes down by 3rd, this goes up by step, down by 3rd, up by step, down by 3rd, up by step. This voice is going up by step, down by 3rd, up by step, down by 3rd, up by step, down by 3rd. There's this lovely contrapuntal weaving between those voices, if you will. And then the last thing I'm doing, I'm just going to fill in that kind of re-do, re-do, re-do motion. So thinking the key of B, ra-do, it'd be C going to B. I'll just start that C on the C here. In the key of A, I go B, A. In the key of G, re-do would be A, G. So you can see this voice is just doing this nice linear voice. Do, do, ti, ti, la, la, sol. Over the voice I'm going do, la, ti, sol, la, fa, sol. And the top voice, sol, do, mi, fa, re, mi, do, re, ti. Just a lovely little sounding pattern there. And all this splashing going on as things you can see kind of going down the tier here as things go down, splashing down. Let's draw the splash lines between the 5/3 chords, actually. When you do that, you can see each pair of notes is just sequenced down a step from this one down to this one down to this one. It's going down by step each time, and just splashing down the steps of the fountain there. Lovely sound. All right, next step, let's fill in some passing tones. Fill in those thirds in the top voice with some passing tones. So we're going to take that F and we're just going to fill it in E, F, E, D, E, D, C, D, C, B. Just these nice little passing tones here. F, E, D, E, D, C, D, C, B. And now we've got that linearization going on where the 6th becomes the 5th. Like that. And the 6th going to the 5. So this is the linear version of that splashing fountain. Ya da 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 dum ba da dum. Just a lovely little sound there. Let's see if I can mute future Facebook notifications there. All right. To go to 4-voice texture, there are a couple of ways we can do this. So let's make some room for 4-voice here. And of course, the nice thing about 4 voices is we're going to be able to fill in the harmony. So we're just leaving room for 4th voice here. We started on C, we went down to the A up to the B, down to the G up to the A, down to the F, up to the G. That's my different levels of the fountain you can see. And we had that motion here. Filling that passing tone, the 6 to the 5 motion, and landing on a nice 5/3 as my stable point each time. Now, of course, if I want to fill in the harmony, you see how I've got 2 C's and an E. I don't have the 5th, so we're going to fill in the 5th. I'm going to put in a nice G there. I have 2 B's and a D. I don't have the 5th, so I'm going to put an F in here. I'm going to put in, you know, I have the 2 A's and the C. I'm going to put an E in there. 2 G's and a B. I need a D there. You see, this one's moving down by step 2. G, F, E, D, each time down by step. And then to make this kind of work then, what we can do is, oh, I already see it, the pattern. Do you see the pattern? This voice moves, this voice moves, this voice moves, this voice moves. So we're just going to go, we're going to go ahead and double that 6th, double the melody there. F, F, E, E, D, D. And so my inner voice, the 5th goes down by step to become the 6th, which stays the same to become a 5th. Down to the 6th stays the same to be the 5th. Down by 6th and does that. And of course I can do this with just 6/3 chords. Just take out that passing tone. Notice I still don't get parallel octaves between the inner voice and that one. E, F, D, E, C, D, B. And this one's just going down by steps, so no parallels there. Or what we could do is, you know, put it back in that passing tone, F, E, D. Or, and this is our last version of this schema, F, E, D, E, D, C, D, C, B. If I wanted to, I could, instead of going up and setting that 6 and going down to the 5th each time, what I could do is I just get rid of that little upper neighbor here and tie from the previous chord. You see how now I've created suspensions. That E, which was the 3rd, became the dissonance here, the dissonant 5th resolving down to the 3rd, which becomes the dissonant 5th resolving down to the 3rd, the dissonant 5th resolving down to 3rd. Because in a 6/5 chord, of course, that 5th is not a stable note. It's a dissonance against the 6th. In Ramellian theory, we would call that the 7th of the chord in an inversion, but you know what I think of Rameau. Yeah, and so now we've got this lovely 4-voice version of the 6/5/3 resolving up to the 5/3, 6, 5, 3 resolving up to the 5, 3, 6, 5, 3 resolving up to the 5, 3. And you can see that the fifth resolves down to the third ties to become that dissonant fifth, resolves down to the third, ties, resolves down. We've got this voice moving down by step, where the octave stays the same, becomes the third, resolves down to the octave, becomes the third, resolves down to the octave, becomes the third, down to the octave. And the other voice moving against that. The fifth steps down, and the sixth here stays the same to become the fifth of the next chord. Sixth becomes the fifth, and the sixth here becomes the fifth. And of course you can switch around the top voices in any order. But that's your, again, the third down step up, describing what the bass is doing, or we refer to it as the fountain, the fonte. Technically, to be a true fonte, we would want half steps here, and we wouldn't do the half step to the B. That wouldn't be a good place to do a fonte. When we get to chromaticism next year, we're going to chromaticize these things. But it would sound just as nice if I did, not a G to an A, but a G sharp to an A. Not an F to a G, but an F sharp to a G. And there I would have those half steps reminiscent of the classical fonte. But we're getting you used to that schema now with the third down step up and splashing down. Hope this was informative.